What if I were to tell you a story? A story made from riding the massive wake of its predecessor. A story that took everything bad about said predecessor and incorporated it into the flesh and bones, the meat and potatoes of its plot structure, world building, and character progression. A story designed to fit an easy to understand, lazy, and outright disappointing formula in order to cash in off of a legacy it knows it will bring to ruin, but does so anyways because the audience will want to know, right? Even if it's bad, die-hard fans will stick around just to see what is done with the world and characters that they continue to use and devalue. A story equivalent to that of a trust fund baby suckling on the teat of previous success and draining what little life and soul the original was able to keep going from an ending so poorly written that it could be considered fan fiction. Now wipe that image away and begin to visualize another story. A story about a father struggling to connect with his son, only for the son to connect more with the father's best friend. A story about that father leading a group of talented, powerful, hard-working individuals against the greatest threat they have ever faced. Aliens. Aliens come to literally drain all the life from the world, bringing power never seen before. A story about the son trying to fit into the footsteps of his father and attempting a connection with him as well. A story about the effects of abuse versus the effects of love and care, and just how much a person can be altered based on those effects. This shit kinda sounds like Evangelion, doesn't it? Now, would it surprise you if I told you that both of these stories I've laid out, while seeming separate in presentation, are in fact the same? What story do you speak on, you may ask? Well, as you may have already put together from the title of the video, I speak on The continuation of Naruto by Masashi Kishimoto began in 2017 under the written and artistic direction of Ukyo Kodachi, Masashi Kishimoto, and Mikio Ikimoto. It follows the titular character's adventure as a young shinobi and son of the Hokage, but from its greatest strengths to its heaviest weaknesses, whether you love it or you hate it, Boruto is problematic, and I'm here to tell you why. So sit back, relax, and grab a drink. Without further ado, we are Dino Junkie presenting Boruto, the Problem Child.
Say I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man in the moon.
Alright, pros first. I'd like to address the pros within both the manga and the anime, but as I have not watched the anime and have only read the manga, I will be speaking off of what I know, and the opinions I have formed off of said knowledge. Just to preface, I do not like this series. I don't hate it deeply like many people do, so I will share what little I do like so as not to come off as just ranting for the sake of ranting. I think Boruto has potential, but a lot will have to be changed in order to get there. With that being said, let me get into what I enjoyed from reading the 56 chapters that have been released as of this video. The introduction to the series is handled quite well, as it sets Boruto and Kawaki up as future badasses, as well as enemies, a fact that makes Kawaki's first appearance exciting and character building appealing to watch. It leaves us with a Konoha in shambles, altered forms of two shinobi that we haven't seen before, the use of a sword by Boruto, Sasuke's sword use in Naruto always appealed greatly to me, and the fact that there will still be a time skip. It's reminiscent of Naruto versus Sasuke, it's got good character design, a serious tone, all great things to start off a series. Even the Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki fight is quite a highlight as well, more in the anime than in the manga, but still pretty great in both. This fight also leads us to the introduction of Kara, the main villain group other than the Otsutsukis. Yes, those Otsutsukis, as well as the newfound ability / curse of karma. Speaking of karma, Kawaki is introduced not too long after this fight as well, and to be perfectly honest, he is the greatest part of Boruto by far. It was color spreads of the characters, specifically Kawaki, that got me looking into Boruto purely just off of the paintwork and design alone, and I'm glad I read this series, just at least so I could spend time with Kawaki. Remember earlier when I spoke about the effects of abuse versus the effects of love and care? Well, I was mainly referring to Kawaki, as he is abused quite badly for a shonen, both physically and mentally, until he sees so little worth in himself that he thinks everyone is out to get him. The effects of his abuse are reversed by the effects of love and care given by the Lord Hokage himself, as well as Boruto. The connection between Naruto and Kawaki is heartwarming to watch unfold, as Kawaki goes from a mad dog constantly on the defensive to a most loyal and dedicated adopted son of Naruto. We are also shown Boruto's strife with watching his father connect with Kawaki so easily, as he struggles to connect with Naruto at all. I will also say this. The loss of Kurama is handled quite beautifully. Rather suddenly, Naruto learns that the cost of Baryon, a new ass-pull mode, is not his life, but Kurama's. The two share a quick dialogue, not really knowing exactly what to say, but Kurama is able to leave Naruto with only concern for Naruto's well-being, not his own, bringing his character arc full circle. For Kurama to even consider sacrificing himself for someone else speaks leaps and bounds to how far he has come. But what truly makes this a beautiful moment is how Naruto reaches out for Kurama as he disappears, reaches out in desperation, trying to cling on to the one who has always been with him, who has been a part of his journey since the beginning, only to have his hand taken by Boruto. Now his son can fill that role of always being there to make him stronger, showing that Naruto's legacy does still have some semblance of good character writing and interactions left to give, also giving myself some hope for the series in the process. As of right now, the anime adaptation is at 193 episodes, far surpassing the number of chapters the manga has, but that's something we'll get into in the cons. The one pro I have heard from there being so much filler is that it allows for the new Genin of Konoha more time to be developed before picking up where the manga begins. And with that, I rest my case for the pros. To accurately speak on the massed amount of negative aspects held within Boruto, I feel as though I should first address its predecessor, one of the most influential and popular shonen manga of all time, Naruto. Whilst reading Naruto, it was easy to glean the passion that Kishimoto felt towards his life's work, his magnum opus, his odyssey, if we're comparing epics and masterful storytellers. Not to say that I think Kishimoto is anywhere near the level of storytelling as that of Homer, but the same lifeblood was poured into both. With all of this being said, to me, Naruto was something that was too long for its own good. It got incredibly dragged out and repetitive, leaving me to rush through pages just so that I could get to parts that could really hold my interest. I mean, the last arc of Naruto is filled with blocks of text explaining all of the moving elements so as to keep the reader, me, from getting lost. Yet, there I was, zipping through pages just to get to where I knew something juicy would be. One of the best things about Naruto was the incredible world of shinobi that it built, and the rules it established. The jutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu were all used through the harnessing of chakra, and different shinobi held their own unique versions of these types of jutsu. Ocular jutsu and jinchuriki added a monstrous presence to be sure, but what surpassed all of this was the setup put into the legendary shinobi known as Madara. Now, up to this point, anyone who got a single whiff of Madara as a villain decided to make a YouTube video kissing his ass so hard they got permanent freckles. So I had high expectations. I wasn't let down. But as we all know, the setup for Madara being the final villain, the end-all be-all of monsters to destroy, was ultimately ruined as he became a segue into the true villain of the series, Otsutsuki Kaguya, an alien from another planet. Had aliens been established before this point? Nope. But that sure didn't stop it from happening. Naruto's ending was saved, at least for me, due to the final fight between Sasuke and Naruto, and honestly, I could talk a lot more about Naruto, but that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to talk about the problematic series surrounding his son. See, after all that perseverance, only to be absolutely pissed on by Kishimoto, I left the series thinking, what a waste of time, and months passed. At some point, I don't know when, I saw Kawaki's character design and thought to myself, I've been pissed on by Kishimoto before, doubt he can do it again. So I put on my poncho and I got my big boy umbrella and got to reading. 56 chapters later, and I'm soaked in urine. As Plato once said, piss on me once, shame on you. Piss on me twice, dude, why are you pissing on people? Mid is defined on the esteemed site Urban Dictionary as an insult or degradation to an opposing opinion, labeling it as average or poor quality. I define mid as Boruto. To make a long story short, and I know this has been said before, but Boruto takes all that was wrong with Naruto and just turns it into a formula. The uninteresting side characters of Naruto that got pushed to the backline because the two main characters were already leagues more powerful? Check. Except this time, it's before the time skip. The whole point of Naruto is that it's an underdog story. It's why I love Kawaki, because he's all the good parts of Naruto mixed with the small amount of good parts of Sasuke. But Boruto? I'm supposed to root for him when he's a child prodigy who picks up on things faster than Sasuke or Naruto ever did? I mean, he beat Momoshiki for God's sake. And don't get me started on the Otsutsukis. Kishimoto chose not to move past the decision of Kaguya. Oh no. Instead, he embraced it. He went full out. Every major threat in this series is an Otsutsuki, and they're put in because the power of Sasuke and Naruto is so high that they literally have to fight with godlike beings at this point. I'll get to the power problem in a second, but I'd like to say first a glaring problem with the presence of the Otsutsukis within the manga, besides the fact that they're completely unwanted. Anytime the story comes to a lull, begins to feel choppy, or the writing begins to fall off, it's like Kishimoto decides, time to throw in the aliens. Did I want this to happen? Nope. But that didn't stop it from happening. I got so sick of the constant back and forth struggle. It felt so monotonous, lazy, and dry. For a series that only releases one chapter a month, you'd think they would try to pick up the pace a bit more. It's hard for me to believe that adult Naruto and Sasuke would continue to lose over and over and over again to the same guys, but what do I know? Speaking of losing and power struggles, let's jump back to the power issue real quick. Boruto and his friends can take on members of Kara and quickly figure out ways to strategize against and dispatch enemies equipped with technology they're not familiar with, yet it's a struggle for Naruto to get out of a bowl and Sasuke loses an eye? A man so focused and skilled with ocular jutsu and known to be insanely fast is taken by surprise by Momoshiki and Boruto's body? I'm sorry, but I just have a little bit of trouble believing anything at this point. Kishimoto decided that instead of backing the car off of the edge of the cliff, slamming the gas pedal would be a much better option. The show stealing and truthfully boring aliens from the end of Naruto remain the formulaic threat of Boruto, as reincarnation through the use of karma causes the same fight to happen like 3 different times. It's infuriating. The well thought out power system of chakra is practically abandoned as technology is pushed in the form of scientific ninja tools, on top of the fact that the karma that vessels have just holds an insane amount of chakra with very few consequences and can also just deflect chakra if used correctly. It feels almost like an entirely different world from that of Naruto, and while the one setup may have worked for a generic new shonen title, it feels too much like a shift for the legacy of Naruto. I can't help but think this to be a desperate attempt by a man holding on to past success in order to find purpose in a cash cow. It feels like soulless, patronizing muck, not only from Kishimoto but from the artist as well. The artist's color spreads are great. They give me JoJo's vibes and I dig that, but the amount of times this mofo uses straight lines as a background to a panel again and again and again and again, like, did you think I wouldn't notice? Does it make for good paneling work? Nope. But that didn't stop it from happening. It's beyond insulting how badly this is put together for a monthly chapter release, and it needs to change. I'm hoping that after the current conflict with Code, they just move on to some kind of threat that is so bonkers and outlandish that it's entertaining. No longer will you be able to accomplish a message about rising through hatred, through perseverance and hard work with something this muddy. So why don't you go ahead and move away from the aliens and the formula that has been developed and put some actual passion in the work. But I can't hold out too much hope with the knowledge of the prologue introduction, as we know karma will not be leaving the scene, which means the Otsutsukis won't be either. It's incredibly frustrating, but at this point, I'm just on a derailed train waiting for impact. No anger or hatred in my heart, just acceptance that what is to come can't be good. At this point, I'm done talking about this manga. You shouldn't give it your time, and manga creators really shouldn't needlessly continue their stories just because they can. Hi, my name is Max. If you made it all the way here to the end of the video, I greatly appreciate it. If you could consider liking and subscribing as well as hitting the bell notification, I would also greatly appreciate it. It goes a long way to helping out the channel. Also, be on the lookout for a new Evangelion video. It's going to be a philosophical one, not a comedic one, so just be aware of that for the future, but I'm still really excited to put it out. Anyways, thanks, and I'll see you soon. Peace.